Hi, welcome to AI That Delivers, talking about AI data strategy gaps today. Let's start with the truth that we don't say out loud enough. Almost every leader has an AI story right now, but not every story ends very well. We've got the hype, we've got the tools, we've got the dashboards, and yet the impact, uneven at best. This session is called AI That Delivers for a reason, and I'm here to talk to you about the gap between doing AI and getting results from AI. You'll hear people talk about the tech, the latest models, APIs, tools, and you'll hear others stay up in the clouds, grand visions, high level theory. I like to live in the space between the two in what I call the messy middle. That's where projects either stall out or they turn into repeatable wins. Over the next little bit, I'm going to show you why so many teams are putting in the work, but not getting the return, and how to fix it. And the fix isn't magic. It's a practical framework that I've used with teams called clear thinking. It's what bridges the messy middle so that you can go from AI as a tool or as a cool project to AI as an engine for results. So, a little bit about me as we get started here. My name's Candace Roberts. I am a lead data strategy and insights director at Vanco. I'm also the founder of a company called Thought Trails, where I help organizations navigate things called what I like to call the messy middle between theory and execution. I've been in data analytics for over 2 decades, translating complexity into clarity. Along the way, I've also taught over 700 classes related to data analytics, AI, and data strategy, working with everyone from scrappy startups to global enterprises. That means I've seen AI adoption from multiple angles, the excitement, the momentum, and some of the stalls. I'm also the author of an upcoming book in 2026 called Shift Your Pace. It's about leading with clarity, adapting confidence, and building momentum that lasts. That mindset is woven through everything I'm sharing today because AI success is not just about the code. It's about alignment, language, and the pace in which we do it. So today, my goal is to not drown you in technical detail or to stay at the buzzword level. It's to show you a way to connect strategy to execution so AI actually delivers for you and for your teams. Let's set with some numbers. According to McKinsey, 78% of companies are using AI in at least one business function. You may be experiencing this yourself. That's great news. AI is clearly the past the experimentation phase. Sorry. But here's the part that keeps me up at night. More than 80% of these companies are not seeing meaningful ROI. So 78% are trying to use it and 80% are not seeing results. Think about that. 8 out of 10 teams are doing the work, buying the tools, hiring the talent, but not seeing the payoff. That's a lot of sunk costs. So what's going wrong? Well, the knee-jerker answer to blame is the tech. The model's not accurate enough, the data's not clean enough, the tools aren't powerful enough. But I can't stress enough, 9 times out of 10, this is really not the reason. The real problem here is that is not the technology, it's how we aim it, how we align it, how we support it from the inside, the business. And that's where this clear framework that I'm going to talk to you about today comes in, because it's designed to close the gap between we build it and it actually works for us. I really love this quote. This is a line from an article from the Harvard Business Review, and it should be printed and hung on every strategy room that I can think of. Strategy and execution aren't separate, and treating them that way does damage. Too many AI initiatives treat strategy like a kickoff meeting and execution like an entirely separate project. The people who frame the why often are not the same people living in the how. That's where the damage happens, in the handoff. Harvard Business Review estimates disconnects between strategy and performance can cost up to 40% of a project's promised value. That's not just budget, that's opportunity cost, market share, and trust within inside your organization. And I'll be honest, I rarely see that gap closed by better models alone. It's closed by tightening the link between the vision and the delivery. And that's exactly the gap we're going to try to tackle today. And how are we going to do it? What's actually in the way here? When AI projects stall or fizzle, The headlines always blame the technology. Not accurate enough, the data's not clean enough, the tools are not powerful enough. But 9 times out of 10, the problem isn't the tech. The real roadblocks are right here in these three elements: misaligned metrics, overlapping language, and unrealistic pace and expectations. First, misaligned metrics. Imagine your data science team is optimizing for model accuracy. I've seen this myself. But your executives are looking for a revenue lift. Those numbers may not even be speaking on the same terms. If the builders and the budget holders aren't chasing the same scoreboard, like half your team is playing basketball and the other half is playing soccer. We're just not playing the same game anymore. The second piece, overlapping language. We throw around words like forecast, prediction, success, and assume everyone means the same thing. But in marketing, a forecast could mean a campaign reach. In finance, it's a revenue projection. In operations, it could be demand planning. Without a shared dictionary of what we're speaking about here, small misinterpretations become expensive detours. And third, we have unrealistic pace and expectations. I've seen proof of concepts expected to deliver measurable ROI in 6 weeks with 2 people and a half clean data set. That's like asking someone to run a marathon with one shoe. This mismatch between expectation and reality really burns out teams, kills trust before the solution even has a chance to prove itself. With these three metrics, language and pace, these are the silent killers. You won't see them on a project plan, but if you don't address them early, you will eat your results alive. So, how do we address this? I'd like to talk about how we can take these three big roadblocks and zoom out to see how they fit together into a bigger picture. I like to call this the AI strategy gap. On the left, you have the AI potential, the reason why so many teams are excited about this technology, and it's a pretty powerful one. This is the vision stage. It is big promises, innovation goals, and potential ROI. On the right, you have your AI results, what you actually want to deliver: predictable outcomes, real value creation, business impact that you can measure and repeat. And in between, this is the messy middle. This is where we want to try to solve the issues. This is the gap. This is where most AI projects lose their momentum. And it's not just because the model failed or the tech wasn't good enough. It's because those silent killers, those metrics that don't match, the language that doesn't align, and the pace that just burns people out are sitting right there in the middle and quietly stalling progress. The thing about this gap is you can't just work harder to get it across. If you try to brute force your way through this, you'll burn through your budget, your patience, and trust before the project ever gets a chance to shine. So, how do you get from the left side of potential to the right side of results without falling into the gap? We need a bridge. And that's where clear thinking comes in. CLEAR is an acronym, C.L.E.A.R. It isn't just a checklist, it's a framework for making AI initiatives predictable and sustainable. It takes the blockers we just talked about, addresses them head on, and gives teams a common language and cadence so they can actually deliver the promise they start with. Over the next few slides, I'm going to break down each part of CLEAR, starting with clarity. Because if we don't agree on a target, it doesn't matter how good our aim is. So now that we've talked about the three roadblocks, sorry, at this moment, every AI leader eventually faces the point where the energy and optimism around a project collide with the realities of the execution. When you're first starting out, the pitch deck looks gorgeous. It is absolutely beautiful. The strategy sounds airtight. Everyone nods in agreement at the kickoff. You've got the budget, you've got the team, you've got the tech stack, and it feels like the momentum is just inevitable. And then the first delivery checkpoint comes in. The model performance metrics don't match the excitement in the boardroom. Marketing is talking about brand lift while engineers are talking about F1 scores. And neither group feels like the other really understands what matters. You realize the definition of success was never actually agreed upon. Leadership assumed it meant measurable ROI in the first quarter. The data science team thought it meant achieving a certain level of model accuracy before even thinking about deployment. Both are valid, but they're not the same thing. Then the timelines start to slip. Not because people aren't working hard, but because decisions get made out of order. Governance conversations happen after something is built instead of before. Critical dependencies get discovered halfway through. The urgency that was once there starts to fade. Momentum isn't just about speed, it's about keeping people connected to a shared vision and a path forward. And when that connection starts to break down, it's not the technology that's failing you, it's the bridge between the strategy and the execution that collapses. I want to make sure we're really clear here. This is not about pointing fingers at business people or at technical people. This is about the systems around them. If the system doesn't deliberately align the what, the why, and the how, you end up with silos rowing in different directions. And no amount of individual effort can overcome that. This moment, the moment the gap becomes real, is where most AI projects lose steam. But it's also where the biggest opportunity lies. If you can recognize it early and close the gap before it widens. So now let's talk a little bit about our CLEAR framework. Here's the fix. CLEAR. It stands for clarity, language, expectations, alignment, and rhythm. Each one is designed to remove one of those silent killers we just talked about. Clarity defines the problem and the standard of good. Language builds that shared definition so there's no confusion. Expectations set a realistic pace and scope. Alignment gets everyone rowing in the same direction. And rhythm, that's the heartbeat. It makes sure the work keeps moving at a sustainable, predictable pace. This is the scaffolding that holds AI projects together so they can actually deliver results. Not just demos, but over the next few minutes, let's break down each one, starting with clarity. Before we do clarity, let's talk a little bit first of why CLEAR actually works. Here's the thing. Most AI strategy frameworks don't fail because the idea is bad. They fail because they don't fit your reality. On the left is what I see over and over again. The approach is overly technical, it misses the business context. You get a 20-minute deep dive on model accuracy, but no one connects it to revenue, cost, savings, or customer outcomes. Leadership is nodding politely, but has no way to make a decision from it. There's a generic playbook problem. You get a framework that might have worked somewhere else, but it doesn't match your pace, your governance process, your data maturity. You're basically trying to run a sprint with a marathon training plan. This mismatch shows up fast. Another big one focuses on tools instead of people across the process. The tools are fine, but without aligned priorities, clear ownership, and a plan for adoption, they end up as shelfware. Nobody likes shelfware. It's like buying a fancy rowing machine and then using it to hang your laundry. And maybe the most dangerous one, assuming alignment just happens. It doesn't. If you don't intentionally create these touch points, these shared language, the clear priorities, people will drift toward their own goals. Now, this is the clear thinking. First, it translates strategy into action everyone understands. Whether you're a data scientist, an engineer, or in the C-suite, you know exactly what goal and what it matters. It creates shared definitions and metrics, priorities before the work even starts. So you don't find out halfway through the marketing and finance meaning totally different things by the word forecast, for example. We build alignment before execution. We get everyone rowing in sync before we ever hit the water. And we set real expectations and a rhythm that keeps the momentum going instead of burning out the team. This is how you close the gap, not with more tools, not with another best practice doc, but by actually building connection between the strategy you set and the work that you execute. So let's move to clarity. Let's move to clarity. The first part of our CLEAR framework. Clarity is where we stop the guessing game before it even starts. Too many AI projects kick off with energy, but no shared picture of what success actually looks like. Everyone's excited, but no one can answer in a single sentence or maybe two sentences. What exactly are we solving and why does it matter right now? When you skip clarity, you get scope creep, wasted effort, and frustration. I've seen teams chase solutions that were technically brilliant, but completely irrelevant to the business problem, all because they didn't slow down enough to define the target. Clarity means three things. One, clear goals, promises, and outcomes. If we say we're going to improve churn prediction, what's the actual promise? Is the reducing churn by 5%? Is identifying at-risk customers 2 months earlier? What is the clear goal? Second, Clear understanding of the what and the why. People do better work when they know what matters. AI is not just math and code, it's a business tool, and people need to feel the connection between their work and the results. Lastly, information that is easy to find and act on. If half the project team is spending hours a week hunting for the latest version of the data set or requirement stock, that's not innovation, that's administrative waste. When we have clarity, we can remove 80% of the friction that kills momentum later. It's not glamorous, but it's foundation. And it's the first letter in our CLEAR framework for a reason. Next, let's move on to L for language. Language can be the silent saboteur in AI projects. It is not just technical versus non-technical jargon. It is how the same word can mean different things in 3 different departments, and how the misunderstanding multiplies over time. I'm sure I'm not the only one who has experienced this within their career. Take the word forecast, for example. In marketing, it could mean campaign impressions. In finance, it's future revenue, or demand pricing in operations. If those 3 teams are working on the same AI solution but don't stop to agree on a defined definition they can all work off of, you're building on quicksand. Cannot build a house on quicksand, you need a solid foundation. Shared definitions prevent expensive confusion before the first line of code is ever even written. Teams need to agree on what key terms mean. This isn't about dumbing things down, it's about making sure everyone is speaking the same language. It's not just vocabulary, it's tone. It's how you bridge the gap between technical and business conversations. So the decisions are informed with a shared understanding and not assumptions. When we fix language early, we reduce the rework, we speed up decisions, and we make collaboration possible without endless translation between the groups. The right words build the bridge. And without that bridge, even the best AI solution can't get across to the people who actually need it. Let's move on to E for expectations. E, or expectations, is where the scope, the time, and the impact come together. And if they're not locked in, your AI project will wobble before it even leaves the dock. Scope is what we're actually going to deliver, not a wish list, not a someday dream, but the tangible, measurable output of the project. I've seen so many initiatives fail because the scope started clear and then ballooned until the team was chasing 3 problems instead of 1. When scope drift comes in, focus also drifts. Time is how long it's going to take, not just in calendar days, in realistic project effort. You can have 2 people and a half-clean data set, but if you expect enterprise-level ROI in 6 weeks, you're setting up for burnout and disappointment. AI has a learning curve for the organization, not just the tech. Respecting time means planning for the work, reviewing the cycles, and any pivots. Impact is the business result we expect at the end. And here's the key. Everyone has to agree on what the impact means. Is it a revenue lift? Is it a cost savings? Is it a risk reduction? Are we trying to make faster decisions? Vague impact statements like make better predictions, it sounds really great until you have to prove the value to your CFO. When scope, time, and impact are defined together and agreed upon, expectations become a rallying point instead of a moving target. Without that alignment, you're getting 3 different stories about what success looks like and no one is happy, even if the project technically, quote unquote, works. So when we talk about setting expectations, we're really talking about aligning these 3 levers: scope, time, and impact, and revisiting them often enough to keep them in sync as the project evolves. That's how you can protect trust, momentum, and credibility. Let's move on to A. A is for alignment. Alignment is where clarity and expectations meet execution. It's making sure the right people are making the right decisions at the right moments, not just at a kickoff, but all the way through to delivery. In a misaligned AI project, the signs show up fast. Technical teams chasing accuracy while leadership chases revenue. Neither is wrong, but they're rowing in opposite directions. You'll see governance calls made after the model is built instead of before. You'll see budgets approved for tools when nobody actually knows how to use them. It's not that these are bad people, they're just broken connections. Alignment means connecting every player, the data scientists, your engineers, your business stakeholders, operations, legal, etc., to the same outcome and making sure they understand each other's dependencies. And here's the important part. It's not about more meetings. It's about the right meeting, the right people, and the right time. I like the metaphor of using a rowing team. Everyone has to pull in sync, same direction, same pace. If one person is out of rhythm on a rowing team against the flow, the boat slows down, or worse, it spins in circles. That's exactly what happens in AI projects when alignment is weak. You burn effort and budget, and you go nowhere. Just continue to spin in circles. Strong alignment means handoffs are smooth, blockers get addressed before they become derailments, and every contributor knows not just what they're building, but why it matters. Weak alignment means you spend more time untangling confusion than building solutions. Here's the good news though. You don't need a massive governance committee to get alignment. What you need is intentional touch points, clear owners for your decisions, and a shared scoreboard that everybody can see. With those pieces in place, alignment becomes the force that keeps your AI strategy moving forward instead of drifting off course. And finally, let's move to R, rhythm. Rhythm is the heartbeat of an AI project. It is the steady pulse that keeps the work moving forward at a sustainable pace, not too slow, not too fast, so that the team burn out or skip steps to make the solution usable. When rhythm is missing, you see a pattern of bursts and stalls. A sprint of frantic activity followed by weeks of silence, teams waiting on decisions that never come, or scrambling because they just got a "can we have this by Friday" request. I don't know about you guys, but I have been there many times in my career. That stop-start pattern kills momentum, drains morale, and makes your AI initiative feels like it's always one crisis away from collapse. A healthy rhythm looks different. It is predictable without being rigid. It is frequent enough to catch problems early, but not so frequent that people spend all day in the updates. It creates a loop where priorities are checked, blockers are removed, and progress is visible. Leadership can stay confident and teams can stay motivated. This is where many AI projects can stumble. They set the initial pace based on hope, not scope. Leadership assumes value where Leadership assumes values will appear in weeks, when in reality, the model, the data pipelines, and the integration steps take months. That mismatch between reality and expectation is like trying to keep a runner's sprint pace, but you're running a marathon. It might look great at the start, but you're not going to make it to the finish line because you're going to burn out before you get there. Rhythm is what connects our pace to our trust. When you can demonstrate steady progress, even small wins, trust builds. Stakeholders stop hovering, teams can focus on building instead of defending, and you get the breathing room to make the decisions that improve long-term outcomes instead of just rushing to meet your next arbitrary date. If alignment is your crew rowing in sync, rhythm is the beat they row to. Excuse me. Without it, even the best aligned team will drift or stall. With it, the boat keeps cutting cleanly through the water, and you're always moving toward the results you set out to achieve. You can actually start with C.L.E.A.R tomorrow. You can make some small moves that make a really big difference. First thing you can do is you can clarify one goal. Write it down in plain English. Start with a sticky note if that's what works for you. Put it in a OneNote if you need to, whatever tool you need to be able to capture that one clarifying goal. Agree on definitions. Choosing one term that makes everybody uses the same, one metric at a time is how we can define these. Let's decide what revenue actually means within the organization. Set a decision tough point, putting the right people in the room before the next milestone. So making sure the right people are invited to the party to contribute to the decisions. From my perspective, on a data strategy team or an analytics team, we're always at the end of the line. Sometimes we're just brought in way too late, and then so many things are built and we don't see the results. And then we have to go back and redo things. So having people in the room when they need to be there is important. Name one dependency. Make sure the owner knows they own it. So that is very clear. If you have a dependency, you own this. Once we have this completed, or if this is what we need to be working with you, let's call it out. And then right size the pace. Matching timelines to reality, not wishful thinking. It's pretty hard to get an AI project completed in weeks if it's going to take months based on all the factors involved in our project plan. So by tomorrow, what can we do? We can cross the bridge cleanly and we can build in the bridge, the middle of the gap. If you just take one thing away from today, this is it. AI doesn't fail because the tech is broken. It fails because the connection between the strategy and the execution breaks down. Crossing that gap means more than just getting the model to work. It is making sure clarity, language, expectations, alignment, and rhythm are all working together. This is our CLEAR framework. Clarity comes first. You define the problem and the end goal. So every decision has a target. Shared language saves time. We get alignment on terms, metrics, and priorities before we build any lines of code. Expectations can help us to drive focus, setting measurable targets for scope, time, and impact so there is no more guessing. Alignment accelerates the execution. Make sure the right people are in the room at the right time. And rhythm sustains our momentum. A predictable, sustainable pace beats out burnout every single time. So now you know how to cross the gap, how to get results, not by hoping the pieces fall into place, but by making sure they were designed to fit from the start. Thank you so much for joining me today. There is another session coming up in just a few minutes if you're interested. And if you have any questions, I will answer those out of chat to the best that I can. Let's see what we got here. People from all over the place. Let's start with that. Okay, I don't really see too many questions here, but I absolutely love your feedback that I'm reading through. Hope, not scope. I love that too. Thank you so much, Mark. Absolutely, the phrase perfectly encapsulates a lot of issues with POs. Great. Thank you so much for joining us today. And the upcoming session will be there soon. Please feel free to hop over. I believe the presentations will be available offline at some point. The Tech in Motion team will make sure that happens for you guys, I'm sure.